Welcome back to the Money Games podcast. Are you a parent and do you want to be thousands of pounds better off? We're joined by Rick Kelsey, personal finance journalist and broadcaster. Rick, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
I'm so excited to be here, and it's such an important time for families and people who need to save money when it comes to children to start getting on it.
Yeah.
And doing something about it, because the world's tightening in. And it's down more than ever for parents and us to try and help people to save some money.
Yeah, I totally agree. I want to start. Your repertoire is incredible. I mean, you've been around the houses, BBC, The Times. Yeah. You've interviewed prime ministers, chancellors. You got a running podcast, which is like the best in the UK and like second in America. Like, you're everywhere.
I should come more often, shouldn't I? Well, I mean, I suppose I started off in local radio and then went to the BBC. I was at the BBC for 10 years and then moved to the Times, started the running channel 6 years ago, kind of filming on our iPhones in the park. And now, what is it now? 800,000 subscribers. So
incredible.
Yeah, it's been a journey to get there, and covering personal finance on the way has been, I don't know, I've always loved saving. I think you've got to come from it from a point where you enjoy saving money yourself. Because if you're not interested in it, I don't think it's as easy to help other people.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I bet you're enjoying it. Otherwise, what am I doing sitting in this chair?
Yeah.
But I want to start somewhere interesting from your perspective. Like, you've interviewed 6 prime ministers, 6 chancellors. How has this changed your perspective of how personal finance sits over the years of interviewing all of these top people?
I think it was not such a big deal if you went back 10 years ago, kind of to scrape together and save a few pounds. I think it was potentially a little bit easier to do that back then. And I think the world's kind of closing in, like the loopholes on how to save money, certainly from a tax perspective, have kind of closed in. Also, the areas where you can save money have kind of closed in a little bit as well. And I think that because wages have been kept down so much, Sammy, in the last 10 years, then everybody's just been squeezed more and more. And as wages have not kept up with inflation, and especially in the UK, then I think people have been looking more for ways to save. And I think people are now far more interested in their personal finances than they were 15 years ago. And they're looking for more ways out, which is why kind of like the boom has come, from people like you do what you do, and there are more personal finance journalists. And I think that's why the industry's kind of grown in that way. But I mean, as far as budget's concerned, I mean, I've been outside Downing Street or outside the Exchequer on budget day and been sent down to the petrol station to find out how many pennies came off a litre of petrol, so many times. And you kind of see that, budgets, they are obviously a balancing act. And what's happened in the last few years is just a real tightening of how much spare cash people have. And, that's a combination of interest rates. It's a combination of tax rates being frozen. And it just means that people have looked for ways now to save money that they didn't actually have to do as much before. I am talking about bills. I am talking about, how to make sure that you're paying the correct amount of tax. I think there's just so much more of an appetite for it now than there was.
I completely agree. It's definitely shot up. We did a video the other day about investing in like fractional shares, and actually really they've only been around properly since 2019, give or take. They were obviously introduced in the 1990s, but like they've only really taken off since then. So when it comes to like actually getting people to be aware that they can even just invest, let alone savings, like that shift hasn't necessarily happened. And then equally as well, in line with that shift is those like rise of savings apps, etc., and accessibility on your mobile phone. People have only just really crossed over into that realm in the past decade. And so,
and it's easier than ever.
it's easier than ever. It's more accessible than ever. But with the digitization of that personal finance, it becomes like almost overwhelming because there's so much option and choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a good example is kind of with energy. It would be the case whereas, you know, even 10 years ago, where if your neighbours were, I don't know, over 75, they'd just be on British Gas.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I've got elderly neighbours now, and they will be switching. They will be savvy. Yes, this is anecdotal, but actually the anecdotal stuff is played out on switching data as well.
Totally.
People are far more open to bringing down their bills because they're being pinched so much more elsewhere. And this is...
Same with like current accounts really as well.
Yeah, on switching with current accounts.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I tell you, current accounts is one for me that I just wish more people actually got onto it, not just for the switching, but for the switching incentive. I wrote an article for the Times about 6 months ago now, where I was basically challenged to make £1,800 on behalf of me and my wife in 6 months in order that we could get something. So it wasn't about £1,800, like £900 each, 5 switches each. So we could save that money and put that towards paying for our childcare. It was, right, set a pot. We're going to go on holiday, or we're going to join a tennis club. And that was my aim. I was like, what have I never done? Just something ridiculous.
Yeah, something fun.
Right. We'll join a tennis club.
Okay.
So I just wrote this article. It's like about how you can do something like that, do a side hustle like bank switching, do 5 of them with you and your partner over the course of 6 months, £1,800, and have a key aim at the end. So a one-line aim that isn't just going into your general day-to-day spending. That's something that's a speciality.
I love that. You could also use it for supplementing if you are being squeezed, though, couldn't you, as well? Like, I suppose there's a way of utilizing that. You know, I've seen offers recently, 175 quid, 200 quid. That's not change.
They make you, it's not, but they make you jump through more hoops nowadays.
Yeah, they do.
So you might have to go and buy 10 bananas every month.
Yeah.
which you didn't have to do if you went back a couple of years ago. But I mean, side hustles are on the rise. I mean, you can just look at HMRC data on this. Side hustles, people taking on extra jobs are on the rise. And there are loads of side hustles that I'm surprised people don't get into. I mean, there are some real simple side hustles. I'm amazed more people don't do this. Bank account switching, the rent-a-room scheme. The rent-a-room scheme is $7,500 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Tax-free.
Yeah.
You don't even have to submit a tax return.
No.
What is the rent-a-room scheme? The rent-a-room scheme is essentially a scheme where someone can come and live in your house at different parts during the year, as long as your house is furnished, and you can earn £7,500 per year to rent that out. Wow. Why is nobody talking about this? This is an amazing scheme. You know, Vinted, shifting your secondhand clothes. I know we're going to talk about parenting,
car boots, reselling garages,
how much money you can now make on Vinted. And, you know, for those people who are watching and listening to this show and thinking, I can't be bothered going on Vinted. Oh my gosh, here's the best thing you can do. There is a service now for Vinted where you can get someone to come to your house, open up your cupboards, take everything that you don't need anymore, shift it all for you, take it away, and they'll just take 25%.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah. I know, you know, these side hustles and they've taken off. And this is all because, I think, because of the massive squeeze on personal incomes, both on what people are earning and also the amount of tax that people have had to pay, especially since COVID. So from 2022 onwards, people, especially families, the squeeze has just been immense. And I suppose that's my job. My job is to direct people in the right way to try and save cash and maybe open their eyes up a little bit to things that they might not have thought about.
I want to get into the squeeze on families a lot more. But before we do that, in your opinion, obviously you're on the ground, like a lot of the time, speaking to people, understanding their finances, the nuances within that across different areas of the country, etc. What do you feel like is one sort of misconception that people have about managing their money? And it's something you see quite a lot from writing these articles.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about managing their money is not putting their money in the right place, both from a savings aspect and from a debt aspect. So the amount of people who we might have asking for advice who come to one of my shows, who might say, you know, where should I be putting this money? I've got it in a savings account. Well, is it in an ISA? No. Are you paying tax on that savings? How much do you earn? I don't know if I'm paying tax on that savings. Well, you probably are if you're a higher rate taxpayer now, to be honest with you, if you've got it in one of the higher paying accounts. And secondly, have you paid off your debt before you are building up your savings? And what is your debt percentage compared to what is your savings percentage? This is what's something that just I just get so frustrated about, and it comes up all the time. If you've got a loan that is 7.5% a year, so a good loan, a good rate for kind of now, and you owe £10,000 on that loan, you shouldn't be coming to ask me where I should put £5,000 of savings at 5% in a top rate ISA account.
Doesn't make sense.
You need to be pulling down your debt first. And I think that the people naturally and understandably struggle between good debt and bad debt. And I obviously see mortgage debt as good debt. But if people are looking to savings accounts before they're clearing their debt, I think that's a problem. And then when it comes to saving, I mean, I just don't think that the ISA system is used as well as it should be. I mean, Britain, we've got a lot of problems in the UK, but my gosh, we are blessed with the ISA system. And I would just urge anybody who's listening to this to really take a look at what you've got and fix it right now, because there is an opportunity by living in this country that you simply do not have in other countries. I mean, literally, it doesn't exist. This is not anywhere else for this type of generosity in Europe or the US. £20,000 a year that you can put away tax-free and into investment. That doesn't exist, Semi, in other countries. And it's one of the main reasons that so many entrepreneurs actually stay within the UK because of that system.
We had Michael Taylor say that's the only reason he's still here on an episode the other week. So
I saw that.
I saw
that. And I get frustrated that people don't use it and don't use it correctly. And there are so many ways that that you can improve on how you use the ISA system. I mean, so many. Do you want me to tell you some?
Please. That's all
I think the first part of kind of the saving system, the ISA system, of someone who's so sad who reads through all the clauses in HMRC when they make any changes to them. That's me. I think the first place is how people are investing. So there is about £800 billion in ISAs in Britain. 800 billion. The majority of that is in stocks and shares ISAs. The majority of that money. However, over 63% of ISA accounts, as in when you sign up for an ISA account, are in cash. Now, if you took out an ISA account in cash 20 years ago, or you took out an ISA stocks and shares account 20 years ago, okay, they've become slightly different names over time. Over time, we know that the stocks and shares will have done better. Now, that does not to say that you shouldn't have a cash ISA. I think everybody should have a cash ISA. It's great, and it looks like there's some changes on the horizon. But we are scared as a nation to invest because we see investing as gambling, and a gamble is only a gamble if there is a significant chance that it will not pay off. And if you look at time and returns over time, over 20, 30, 40 years, long-term investing is actually not much of a gamble.
0.1%. according to the Schroders study, there was a FTSE study, which was 11 years or so. And that's most periods of history. The Schroders study was any period in history.
There you go.
So,
and you're great at talking about this. I mean,
I love
you are fantastic at talking.
Yeah.
You are just a great advocate for getting people to diversify how they invest. People are scared of the word investing. I think that's a real shame. Like a guy to me, like on my team at work, this is someone who's working on my show, said to me, which ISA should I put my money in? And I was like, well, these are some of the best ones, but you should whack, some of it in a stocks and shares ISA. I said, wouldn't know where to start. And I think that's, it is a financial education, which is half of this.
100%. 100%. Are you ready to take your first steps into investing? We're thrilled to partner with Trading 212, the app that makes investing accessible and straightforward for everyone. With Trading 212, you can open a stocks and shares ISA that's packed with features, zero commission on your investments, industry low FX fees, and access to thousands of ETFs, funds, and individual stocks from markets all over the world. The app is incredibly intuitive, designed to help you invest with confidence, whether you're a total beginner or already a pro. Trading 212 is FCA regulated and the client's funds are protected by FSCS protection. Honestly, I am such a fan of how easy it is to use that I've started recommending it to friends who are new to investing themselves. It's simple and secure, and it gives you all the tools you need to build your portfolio. And here's the best part. Right now, Trading 212 is offering you guys a free fractional share worth up to £100 when you sign up and deposit just £1. To grab this offer, head to the link in the show notes or use the code MGP when signing up. As always, remember your capital is at risk when investing. ISA rules and T's and C's and other fees may apply. So why wait? Start building your future with Trading 212 today. And now back to the episode. And interestingly, when we spoke before, you said the amount of stocks and shares opened last year has decreased, which blew my mind by 126,000.
That's right.
That's scary to me because we've only got around about 11.5% of the working adults actually even signed up to a stocks and shares ISA. We need to be drastically increasing that number into the multi-millions a year.
Yeah, it's about 30% of accounts.
100%.
Yeah.
So that scares me. So what are we doing wrong? Because, I'm out there chatting about this from the rooftops every single day, and there are multiple other accounts doing that. We've got the fintech apps now, pushing left, right, and center. Is it overwhelm? Is it like basic knowledge? What is it stopping us doing this?
The government have noticed this, and the government have now said in the spring statement that they are looking to change this. So I think in October there will be a change to how ISAs work. It's almost banged on.
The reduction of the cash ISA contribution.
I think it would be a shame if they did that, but I think they probably will. I think the problem is generally fear, to be honest with you. It's fear of the unknown and not knowing where to start. But here's what you should do if you are worried about where to start. You should get yourself a simple open portfolio. So to start off with, what should I go for? Just go for a simple, ready-made fund. That is the best way to start if you are scared.
Balanced, adventurous, or cautious approach. Those ones.
Yeah, and how that works is it basically works on your money personality.
Yeah.
So you do a test and it will say to you, what would happen to me if I lost £500 over a year? Do I want to take that money out? Have I got a significant event happening in a few years' time? Am I having a life-changing event like having a baby? Am I getting married? Okay, so all this works out. And then it will put you into a bracket. So, like you say, am I an adventurous investor? Am I a cautious investor? Or am I an intermediate investor? And actually, what your actual personality is, I always find is so different to people's money personality.
Completely.
So different.
Yeah.
And these ready-made funds are the way to start out.
You might jump off a bridge, but you won't necessarily
be
a risky investor.
Exactly. That is the way to start. That is the one way to start investing. Then move into ETFs. Then research what type of industries you want to be putting your money in. Then decide if you want to go into one country heavily or you want an all-world, FTSE all-world tracker.
Yeah.
Do that afterwards. But that's the way to start, because you need to dip your toe in to get the confidence to start investing. You know what? The problem for this, it starts so early. Because if you think about, that's the ISA system for adults, but actually there's a whole ISA system for kids, right? That you can put in for your children. You can set a ISA account up in stocks and shares or cash for your children. You can pay up to £9,000 a year in the UK into that. And the figures are exactly the same. And this blows my mind. The figures for cash and stocks and shares ISAs are almost exactly identical for adult. The figures for stocks and shares ISAs for children are almost identical as to what they are for adults, Sammy. Now, if you're thinking about risk, hang on, you've got a baby, he's 1 year old, you're investing for 18 years. That should be in a stocks and shares ISA.
Yeah.
Because the risk there, that money's not coming out. You're investing for the long term. So one of the things that people are worried about with stocks is, well, they can't take it out. Oh, I've got a family event. I need to pay for something major. I need to get £5,000 out right now. Is the market a low point? I don't want to pull out right now. Okay. Well, you've got a baby or a 1 or 2 year old. This is invested for the long term. You're not taking their money out right now until they're 18.
Totally.
So the fact that we're putting 61% of kids' ISAs into cash ISAs is just madness. Yeah, and that's not to say, I always say, that's not to say don't put it into a cash ISA. Just be more balanced. And right, if we all did this, then I think the government wouldn't be getting involved and actually pushing us to do this. And it may be that they're going to say, right, well, we're going to reduce the cash ISA limit. We're going to make sure that stocks and shares ISAs have a certain percentage, maybe 80%, have to go into British stocks. That could be something that I can see a smile on your face. But it might. This could be something that they might do in October. If we were
I get that. I think 80% would be extreme.
They could do 50%. They could do 20%.
Yeah, they could 20% is a bit more.
They could. I mean, this is what the British stocks and shares ISA that was kind of suggested that was going to be for £5,000.
Yeah,
that was going to be 100%.
Yeah. So, that was on top of the 20,000.
On top of the 20. So, yeah. But they could say for 1 year. They could do anything.
But that's obviously been canned.
That's been canned. But fear, and I just hope people continue to look at it and maybe just dip their toe in a bit more.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously different accounts. Let's go into sort of the family situation, because I think it's a nice segue into it. We've sort of spoken very briefly about junior ISAs. I think parents listening to this, or soon to be parents, will want to have something set up for their kids, right? So if that is an account, it's better to have one than not. But when we make content around junior ISAs, we often get a lot of pushback, and that's because they're like, I don't know who my kid is going to be when he's 18. I was a bit of a rascal when I was 17. Yeah. got kicked out of house a few times for being a naughty boy, but always came back because I was a charming lad.
It's all worked out all right there, wasn't it?
It's all worked out fine. They love me now, I think. No, but in all seriousness, like, when they get that money, they will have access to it at 18, and they can make their own decisions at that point. And that worries some parents.
Yeah.
In your opinion, should they be worried about that at all? Is that something to be thinking about, or should you be placing your money elsewhere if that's something that you are worried about?
I think one of the first things that you should do as a parent is try and get your own finances in line first.
Yeah.
So if you're really struggling, yes, it'd be great if you can do some investing for your child, but the most important thing and the best financial opportunity that you're going to give your own kids is if you get your own finances stabilized.
Yeah, there's no point having an amazing stocks portfolio for your child and then you're in loads of credit card debt. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think junior ISAs are a great way to start.
I agree. I think they're amazing. Brilliant.
I think they're a great tool. And again, I think they're, we are quite unique, not quite as generous as the adult one when it comes to how unique the UK is compared to other places. But it is a great tool to start. And
that £9,000 is on top of your £20,000 contribution.
It's on top of your own. You can own, you have to open it as a parent. Grandparents can pay into it. In fact, anybody can set up a direct debit and pay into it, and you can pay from as little as £10 a month into a junior ISA. And they are also a great educational lesson for kids to watch how it grows. So if you have a little app on your phone, you can show your kids and you go, when they're 4, it's like, this is how much you had in your 4, this is how much you had in your 6, this is how much you had in your 8. And they can really grow into something. I mean, even if your, if your account was doing, 5% a year, by the time they're 18, I mean, even with a fee of about 0.5%, I mean, that could be £60,000, £90,000 if the market's done well. So just paying in would be 60, 90 if it's done well, which is a great start to life. I mean, it's better. It's better off to have that kind of money when you're 18 than you saving in your own account to pay for the university.
Yeah, we love this stuff because if you teach your child how this works, they turn 18. You say, look, okay, maybe take some of it to do X, Y, and Z because it's a great Kickstarter for you at that age. If that's traveling, if that's a house deposit, whatever that is, brilliant. But also educate them on the fact that the continuing compounding rate, even if you contribute £20 a month yourself from that point on, from your first paycheck or what that might well be, the growth of that by the time you're 30 is just astronomical.
Yeah.
And so you've really got an opportunity for them to kick on as well. And that comes down to education of your children.
Completely. Well, those figures are based on paying in just over £3,000 a year. So if you pay in just over £3,000 a year, by the time your child is 18, if it's done an average of 4.5% a year interest, and then the account fees are around about 0.5%, you could have around £61,000. But at 4.5%, that would take it to £90,000 by the time your child is 18.
At 4.5?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're paying in £3,000 a year.
That's nice, isn't it?
So,
that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
And that is the average UK retirement pot.
That's incredible.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Do you know, one of the kind of buzzwords in the money world when it comes to kids this year has actually been child pensions, though.
Yeah. You're telling me.
And
junior SIPPs.
Junior SIPPs. So a self-invested
What do you think about
pension.
these junior SIPPs, Rick?
I think they are for the elite of the elite, Sammy. I think there are so many things that you've got to do first before you use a junior SIPP. And if you are so lucky that you have that much money that you can fill out your ISA, you can fill out your own ISA allowance, cover everything else, and you still got some spare cash, then go for a junior SIPP. So just to kind of let people know what a junior SIPP is. So you're basically starting a pension for your child from when they are a baby or however
it's so wild.
So you're creating a fund for your child when they're 60.
Yeah. If it's that.
It might be 67 by that point. At the moment, it's just about to go to 57. So the money you could take out. And they are pretty limited, actually. So just to run you through kind of similar figures. So you can pay in personally about 2,800. That's topped up by 20%. That's the bonus. So it's about 3,300 per year that you can put in. Again, if that was at an average rate of 4.5% per year, minus your fees, you get to that around about 60,000 figure by the time your child's 18. At 4.5%, that's £90,000. But then don't forget, they can't take that then, like they can with the ISA, for that university, for that whenever they get married or what. Yeah. This then stays invested. But if you sat that money, so this is where the figures get a bit wild. If you sat that £90,000 that's accumulated at that rate in a junior pension until retirement age, currently 57, that would be worth just over £400,000.
What?
Yeah. But I just think this is, it's not a route that people should be going down. You should be looking at junior ISAs and you should be certainly filling those first. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought you might like the figures.
No, I love the figures. Thank you. I mean, they sound great, don't they? But I mean, at the end of the day,
hey, if you ask for figures, you got the right man in.
Yeah, right. I'm going to hit you with some sums.
Oh, no, don't.
When it comes to investing, it's hard to know where to start, especially when you're hit with conflicting information and jargon used by all of these financial institutions. So to help you get started, we've created a free investing guide, which you can grab in the show notes below. It's 10 steps, exactly what I would follow if I was getting started myself today. And it's really simple and easy to follow. So head down to the show notes below and grab your free investing guide today. But obviously there's pros and cons to both, right? And I think that's a way of looking at it. And you're totally right. I agree with you. Like ISAs first. If you then have some extra cash, look at a junior SIPP. But the access point is such a big deal. It's not affecting your child.
It's absolutely wild.
It's affecting the adult that they could be at the age of 60.
Yeah.
You know, which is a long time.
Yeah.
You also got to, they've gone through their entire life before they can access that money. I just think that's a waste. You know, you want to try and be impacting them at that really key point, which is like 18 to 21. When they're in their real like formative years.
Definitely.
Building them as a person.
Completely.
So just doing a junior SIPP is taking that opportunity away from them, in my point of view.
Yeah.
A lot of people save into their own ISAs because they're worried about the child having access and buggering off to Ibiza, basically, and spunking it on some fancy sports exhaust on their, Renault Clio.
I had a Nissan Sunny. It's fine.
Yeah, I was a Clio guy. Do you think that's another option that people can take? If let's say then 11% of this country max out their ISAs, so 20.
It's not much,
actually,
is it?
It's not much, and understandably so, because of you're not paid hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's hard to put £20,000 a year away. So I totally get that.
After tax.
After tax, yeah, and. So if they do put their money into their own ISA, they have then got semi-control over it. How do you feel about that approach?
I think there's an element of trust that you've got to go down here. And I think if something is in a child's name, it's nice for them to see their own name and understand how savings work and understand that how growth works and understand how money works. And if it is in their name, then you can't touch it. And that's a good thing. If you're doing it for your child, that's a good thing that you can't touch it. Yeah. And they can't touch it. They can take control of it when they're 16, but they can't get it until they're 18. I would always urge keeping things separate and creating one for your child to teach them the value of money.
Yeah.
And also just to keep finances separate so you can deal with your own issues if you need to take that out, and you don't even have to, cross that bridge of thinking, do I need to break into that?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Are there any other accounts for children that we're missing that are beneficial, or have we covered them, do you think?
I think there are so many accounts which are kind of part of the tax system, which we'll get onto, such as tax-free childcare, which is an account that are mind-blowingly efficient and important for children that are just not taken up. If parents use these accounts, they'd be thousands of pounds better off.
So when you say account there, can we go through that? What do you mean?
Well, there are three types of childcare help that pretty much everybody, the majority of people, can get. Child benefit, which is a weekly payment that you get from when a child's born to if they're in full-time education until they're 20, which is at just over £1,200 a month for one child and about £2,000 for two children. So, and it goes up
per month,
per year. Per year. Yeah. So that's the first one, child benefit. Secondly, there is free childcare hours. Free childcare hours are currently 15 hours per week, and they are going up to 30 hours per week from September 2025. That's worth thousands of pounds. And thirdly, there is tax-free childcare, which is an awfully named system which has been around for years, which gives you £2,000 of free childcare per child, £4,000 if your child is disabled, to help with the costs of childcare. Now, how that works is simple. You paying £100 into this account, it magically turns into £125. You pay your childcare provider via the account. Every childcare provider I looked at before I picked one, I first asked, do you accept tax-free childcare? Most of them do, but it's just a question that I was just first off. It's essentially a 25% boost up to £2,000 per year. Now,
it's not small change, is it?
It's not small change.
No.
These three systems for childcare support are so dramatically underused. It's depressing.
There's something like 1.3 billion unclaimed last year, right?
Yeah. So for tax-free childcare, 1.3 million families it was available to.
Oh, okay.
465,000 claimed it.
So less than half.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, why?
It's depressing.
Why?
Because it's so complicated.
Is it people are proud as well not to have to claim it? If you don't have to claim it, like are they too proud to claim it because it's called a benefit?
Tax-free childcare is a scheme that helps people work more. So it helps adults work more.
Yeah.
In theory, it's a benefit because you're working, but it's not a benefit based on you being on a low income.
No.
It's based on you
having a
child.
Yeah.
So
to use it.
To use.
Mm.
So the idea is that you use it so you can work more, so you can pay more into the tax system. So everyone's better off. I don't think that is actually the reason. I think the reason is simply because it's clunky. It says tax in it, which puts a lot of people off and they go, oof. And trying to set it up can be quite complicated. I mean, I had to run a bit of a session at one of my nurseries for some other parents, some who had poor English and some who were just like, oh, I'm just not getting into that. I'll just pay the extra 25%. You're like, well, if you want to pay the extra 25%, fine. But if you do this, like, oh, I really want to do that, but it just looks so complicated. There are so many screens you've got to go through. The government should rename that. I mean, call it tax, call it childcare help, call it childcare balloon for all I care. Do something.
Yeah.
Make it more friendly.
Yeah.
Or
repayment.
Something.
Rebate.
Tax-free childcare is just one you've just got to get onto. And if you haven't got kids, tell your friends, are you claiming you £2,000 for childcare help? Like that is so you can work more. It's a net benefit to the tax system.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that's supposed to work. To get people to do more hours. And then 3 hours is the big one that is changing at the moment. So 3 hours, 50 going up to 33 hours a week if your nursery accepts it. Some don't because of staffing pressures, but it is a widely accepted scheme.
And with that £2,000, is it per child as well?
Per child, yeah. But the 3 hours is completely different. So,
and that's on top?
That's on top.
Wow. This is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So, and this is all claimable?
Yeah. Again, though, the 3 hours, that was put in by Jeremy Hunt, the previous Chancellor.
Yeah.
He upped it from when a child is 3, you got 15 hours. He changed it from when a child is 3, getting 30 hours, to when a child is 9 months, but it was done gradually. So it's come in over the Labour government and the final bit of the scheme kicks in soon. And this is just the biggest change to the childcare system in a generation, if not ever.
It was
from 9 months old, parents will be allowed to take up to 30 hours free per week. Per week.
Oh, it's per week?
Per week.
Wow,
of childcare.
That's enormous.
That's coming in from September. And this is obviously, and
and how's that work? Like,
well, the OBR, I've looked at this and they've kind of gone, Office for Budget Responsibility have said, we think this will create much more work. Hence, this will pay so much more into the tax system by helping parents who simply cannot work, won't work, don't have the support, don't have the parents around them, can't get out to work, are uncomfortable with the type of arrangements they've got. You can go to a registered nursery and you can get 30 hours a week. Wow, this is going to change people's whole take on childcare ability. I mean, this is the difference of around about £7,500 per year per child.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. We did the calculations on this with like a few young mothers, and we were speaking directly, having these types of conversations back and forth to get the exact figures. And the 3 mums that we spoke to delayed going back to work. I think it was, on average, it was 2.5 years, simply because of the costs of childcare pre this change. Even the 15 hours made an enormous difference, but even then, it wasn't enough, simply because of the nursery costs had gone up 26% year on year at that point as well. So actually, the 15 hours was basically bringing them back to square one again.
Yeah.
So they weren't going then back to work. But this 30 hours change will make that significant jump over. And you're totally right. You know, if you can't afford to go to work, just even saying that sentence is wild. You can't afford to go to work.
Exactly.
Is nuts, right? So if you can afford to go back to work, then suddenly that changes the whole game system. Talented individuals which are at home,
exactly,
because they can't afford to go back to work, suddenly this talent is back in the system.
I think we should be really proud that this system's kicking in, and there are some big problems with nurseries in the fact that we don't have enough staff. The government isn't paying them enough for the free hours, so some of the nurseries are unable to do it. That's a big problem. But at the same time, I think we should kind of commend ourselves as a country that we are going from one of the most expensive childcare schemes and setups in the Western world, literally, if over the last 15 years, to a more of a mid-table position, and that is to be commended.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely. You can say what you want about the Tory government, but that's possibly one of the better things and schemes that they came out with.
It's a game changer when it comes to childcare.
Completely agree. In terms of the way that system works, though, there's an element of worry for parents earning, and this was a big topic that I get a lot back.
Yeah,
because it's like, well, why should I earn more than the threshold? Even by £1, I'm screwed. So can we talk through some of that?
Sammy, I've written about this a couple of times. It's just where the UK tax system is broken to the point that it just needs to be ripped up and tore to shreds, literally. I mean, we now have this crazy graph where parents earn up to £100,000 and then just stop earning, because if they earn 1 pence, 1p over 100k, they lose their 30 hours free childcare and they lose their tax-free childcare. If you have 2 children, that could be 25 grand.
Wow, man.
You'd have to earn that much more.
Is that 100k per person or a household as well?
It's for one individual. So right. You could have you could have one person who might have a medical condition, doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that is 100. So that's one person earns 100k. And I've written about this, and it's just painful, because you can argue, hang on, £100,000 a year, they should be paying more. They should be. They can afford this. Like, that's easy. Like, they should be able to afford childcare. But that's not the point. The point is that it's stopping growth. That they are not paying more tax into the system to the support of the lowest paid people who need it the most.
Right.
We are slowing economic growth in Britain because people stop working because of these awful tax cliffs. Literally awful. You get to that amount and people just stop, because they'd have to earn another 25 grand more before they started bringing something home if they have multiple children.
What was the change where it went from 70 to 80,000?
So that is child benefit. So the 100,000 cliff is where you lose your free hours.
Yeah.
So your free nursery hours, and where you lose your tax-free childcare. Now, the third source of childcare help that everybody can get hold of is child benefit. That's recently gone to £60,000. So everybody can get it up to, if you earn up to 60,000, one person in your family. And then it's tapered up until £80,000 when you lose it completely.
And
so
again,
it's a gradual
individual
taper.
So like, if me and my wife earn over 60 grand,
if both of you earn 60 grand, you'll get it. if one of you earns 61, you'll start to lose it.
So annoying.
Yeah, yeah.
So annoying.
This is what I mean. I'm doing a big piece on this at the moment on growth. Like this is just slowing growth, and I just get so many comments whenever I'm doing a show on this that, oh, the rich can pay more. I mean, great. If you want the rich to pay more and the least well off in society to have less as well, because that's how this is going to work. Because people are just stopping working. They're not paying into the pool. So there's not more money in the pool to help people. That's just how it works. And if we just release these thresholds and had a sensible approach and said, well, it's tapered, or you extend those thresholds, or you still get some of the hours, instead of having a cutoff, oh, right, 100K, it all goes. Everything goes. It all goes.
Yeah, the tapering would make much more sense, because it's like, well, you know, instead of it being like 1 pence gone, because then it's like, well, why would I earn more?
Yeah,
as you know, and that you're totally right. And I think that this is with this whole like, yeah, tax the rich, and it's like, well, yes, but like
they're not the rich though.
No, I know. It's like, where does this line end?
Yeah, they earn a lot of money. But we should be milking them for all they've got. Well, all right. If that's what you're saying, then you want them to pay more tax.
I'll just earn 99 grand a year,
and I'll just sit there.
Yeah,
just sit there, do nothing.
Do you want to pay a rise? No,
you don't want to pay a rise.
Yeah, what?
But I mean that is where, you know, I suppose one of my jobs is trying to help people to try and save money. That is where, if you are at that level, I would say this is where salary sacrifice is really clever, and you should speak to your employer if you are at one of those thresholds. So not even at 99K, if you're at 60K threshold, or even the higher tax rate threshold of 50,000 in the UK, you should think about salary sacrifice, which is basically a scheme where you can pay into your pension and lower the amount that you earn on paper so that you stay under certain tax thresholds and only pay 20% tax or 40% tax, and not go into the next and lose out on the benefits that would come with.
Plus the tax relief.
The tax relief. So I think salary sacrifice is an amazing scheme, and people should encourage their employers to set those schemes up.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then you don't lose your childcare, plus you're maximising your pension. Actually, then the tax relief from that.
Go hell for leather on your pension if you are just sitting below one of those tax bands, because you're into a whole world of danger if you just tip over.
And also, you can always release it as well when your children become of age, or they're out in the world and don't need those benefits or want those benefits anymore.
Marginal tax rates, and this is where stuff like this works so much better in the US. If you listen to the show in the US, that's kind of how it works. The marginal tax rates are far more blended than they are in the UK.
Yeah, certainly some work to be done around that. In terms of like understanding this, is there anywhere where someone can easily go and just actually like work this out? Because even from my own perspective, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, how do I begin to like, okay, Rick, great, that sounds amazing. Like, cool, you know, $2,000, I'd like $2,000. How do I get my $2,000? Like, where do I go and work this out?
All these systems are done via government gateway. So I know you
hate that bloody website.
I know.
Hate it.
So you need to get your code and your log on, sort your government gateway out.
10 days.
I think a lot of this is done by just telling yourself, right,
I need to go through.
I've
pain.
got there are 3 sources of help that I can get with my childcare. And these are not benefits as such. They are to encourage people to work and help people to earn more money and do well and pay more into the exchequer. And, you know, think about it. If you've got kids, child benefit, am I claiming it? Tick, no. Where am I in the threshold? Tax-free childcare, have I got an account? What does it look like? Does my nursery school... You can pay your school for after-school care for after-school care with tax-free childcare. Do they accept it? And lastly, free hours. Is the nursery that I'm using, do they accept free hours? Like every month I just have something on my fridge goes, right, have I done 1, 2, 3? And, you know, just try and keep on top of it.
Yeah.
But it's hard, you know,
It is hard.
And like, if we could simplify this into one big childcare system, and it was like, there was just a childcare portal wherever you could log on and do all of it.
Similar to like the pensions dashboard,
like the pensions dashboard, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, because you can just log in and see. Like, oh, okay, I'm paid X. Here's how much I'm bound to. I would like that money. Please pay me. You know, this just can be that simple, right?
Yeah, and it's not an embarrassment. Talk about it at the nursery gates. Talk about it at the school gates. Are you using tax-free childcare? You know, because 99% of people will be. What free hours are they doing? You know, how's it work with child benefit? Gosh, let's just all be a bit more, you know, open and free about this type of stuff.
Why not?
Yeah.
Free money.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to look at it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're maximizing everything else in your life. Like, why would you not do that? I just don't get it. But, you know, if you're listening to this day, hopefully that's helped you. On the subject of this, obviously, we're talking about, you know, families being squeezed, things being harder. You're a big fan of the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. I've sort of moved away a touch just simply because of the climate that we're in. Do you still feel like that system works for families in today's day and age?
Yeah, so 50% for needs, 20% for spends, and 30% for paying off debt or investing. I still think the 50-20-30 rule is a good base, just because I think it gives people a little bit of structure, and I've not heard one as a general rule that's better.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's just more of the realities.
Yeah. I think when it comes to families, which is what I spend a lot of my time talking about, I think the first one, the 50, kind of balloons a little bit into the second one, which is the wants, because childcare, you know, childcare takes up so much more of your life. I mean, you what are your big spends in life? Your big spends in life are your rent or your mortgage, your childcare bill, your
kids in general, right?
Your car bill, and your medical bill if you have private medical care. So they're your 4 big things. You know, the other things don't make as much difference, like day to day.
£5 problems.
Exactly. So when childcare comes into that, it blows your finances. Like you've been hit by a ton of bricks. You know, childcare just mixes up every bit of personal finance budgeting you've ever done. So I do think you've got to be more flexible on that rule when it comes to 50-20-30. And there will be a couple of years where you've just got to take the hit and go, well, you know what? Childcare is expensive. This is going to change. So my 50-20-30 is becoming 60-10-30.
Yeah.
I'd still be paying down as much debt as I could.
Absolutely.
But
I'm trying to put some away
and trying to put some away as you can. But there are those, you know, those first kind of 4 years that you have a kid where things are just squeezed on a different level.
Absolutely.
Compared to the rest of your life.
We did an email about this, and it's just about like accepting that there's different seasons of life.
Yeah.
And just like understanding like early kids' days are extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So that £300 you're popping into your cash ISA or whatever that might well be that you've been doing pre-kids might end up looking like £100 now. And that's totally fine. You just got to accept that that might actually be your reality, and like don't beat yourself up about that. But don't stop that contribution completely just because you couldn't put the £300 in.
True,
and there's a lot of people do that. And so I feel like, you know, you just need to bend your finances based on where you are in your life and understand that your reality is different too.
Bend it, be flexible, but just know what's out there.
Totally.
I just want more people to know what's out there. What opportunities, financial opportunities are out there for parents.
Yeah.
And if more of us know about the financial opportunities, then actually more of us will pay into the bigger pot.
Completely agree. You have kids.
Yeah, two small children.
How old are they?
They are 2 and just turned 5.
You sleeping yet?
No. My 2-year-old has slept through the night 9 times in 2 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
That's one figure I won't forget.
Fair play.
Yeah.
You told me how early you're up this morning. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was work. The 3 o'clock starts.
Luckily, I'm
That's
an
pretty
early
normal.
riser, so I think I'm going to be all right. But
Yeah, I noticed you were up pretty early, actually. Yeah.
I'm weird, man. I'm 4:30. I don't know why. It just when
got used to
my body
it.
goes.
You just got used to it.
Morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ever since you quit booze.
Yeah, I know. I would love to have a pint though.
Would you?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that still kick in?
I don't know. I still have like the occasional. It's just I don't do the big Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And you love the fresh feeling. No, I
yeah, 1 pint and I'm gone.
That's it.
Yeah,
cheap date.
Yeah,
you winner. I'll take you
out.
Oh,
yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So are you. Probably cost you an arm and leg in London now, won't it? So I paid £7.90 for a pint of Guinness. It's absolutely wild. But with those young kids, are you looking at things like we had Ashley from Go Henry on, and I really like Go Henry. I think they're a brilliant band. Louise Hill, but big advocate for financial education in schools, which I think is fantastic. Do you feel like there's space for more brands like this, and will you be actively using financial education tools like Go Henry or books or whatever that might well be with your young kids? And is there anything you're trying at the moment that you think is cool?
I think the best thing you can do, and listen, I'm not going to tell people how to parent their kids, but encourage your school to have some form of educational advice that comes in as early as possible on things like budgeting from a wider perspective. But from a personal perspective, I think it's getting your kids involved in decisions and making them interested in money while not boring them about it, and doing that through things like showing them their own accounts and getting them excited and going, oh, you know what, when you're 21 you'll be able to have that. What do you think you're going to buy when you're 21? I mean, now it might be literally 1,000 bags of Haribo, but that choice will change every year about what they want to buy. And I
chocolate fondue.
Exactly. I'm still pretty old school in the fact that I've given my 5-year-old a piggy bank, and she just loves it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's because it's the physicality of coins for them to play with.
Yeah,
but not overdoing it as well. Let kids be kids, but get them an account and show them an account and let them get excited about the fact that there is something there for them long term. And if that's only a tiny amount of money, then then that's, if it's £10 a month, fantastic. That's what my mum did for me, £10 a month.
I used to have like a leaderboard thing where I could do chores and earn.
It's ace, isn't it? Yeah. I remember going to
50p to mow the lawn, which is like,
you got 50p to mow the lawn?
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Back in the day, so we're talking early 90s. Yeah,
I remember going to the Halifax Building Society, which used to be on a high street near where I grew up in the Wirral, and every Friday night from my pocket money, I tried to save £3 out of the £10 that I got for my school dinners.
Nice.
And I'd go and see the lady, and she'd stamp the book, and I can still remember that like a number of it being stamped to go through. This wasn't in the 1800s. This is the early 2000s. Yeah. Literally, go into a machine and just take chunks out of it.
Yeah.
And that was what kind of got me interested. Now, if you can get your child interested by a certain event, or some of these apps that you're talking about, they'll have kind of pots that you can create, and you can put things in pots. So
awesome.
It could be like you could have a bouncy castle if you wanted to, and okay, they're not going to buy a bouncy castle, but it's it's something that they can picture, something physical, which I just think so useful, which really excites me. But you don't need to overdo it as well. At the end of the day, as a parent, you kind of want to shield your kids away from money as much as from the difficulties of money problems as much as you
fundamental
want to do to set
principles, not problem-based solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to get your own finances right first, so you're not passing that stress on to your children, if possible.
So true. And it can be fun as well.
Yeah, that's great fun. I love it. Yeah, turn it into fun.
Yeah, turn it into fun.
Turn it into fun, because otherwise, And I think it was something ridiculous like, 4 in 5 stress-related illnesses are to do with money. We've got to try and turn this, gamify it, and enjoy some of the process. Otherwise, it becomes a chore. And we all know what we do when these things happen. We bury our heads in the sand, and that's why I do what I do, to try and sort of break that mold.
And that's kind of what it all comes back to, because of the financial squeeze in the last 5 years, where only recently wages have started taking off again in the UK, and tax rates have stayed the same. So this horrible term, fiscal drag, which means we're all being dragged into higher tax rates. So we're all paying more tax, but while at the same time our wages are now going up, but for years they've not been going up. They've not been going up. So, the old middle class, we're just creating one giant working class, if you like, as we've pushed the minimum wage up. And, skilled jobs and less skilled jobs are beginning to merge more. And this whole structure of how much spare cash is in society for all of us is being squeezed, because we're all being put together. Yeah, you got the super rich over here are doing their thing, and we can all talk about wealth taxes and whether or not they work for those people. But actually, for the majority of us, there's just a big squeeze going on.
Absolutely.
So what happens when there's a squeeze going on? Well, you need to take care of your own finances better. Hence, more people are interested, and hence people need to be doing these things to literally save themselves thousands of pounds.
Love that, Rick. I think you wrapped up that lovely. I think it's been such an interesting deep dive, and we're going to link out to some of these articles that you've written below, because they're brilliant. But where else can people find you?
Well, I am every week on the running channel. I work.
It's great fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we absolutely love doing the running channel. The show's on every week, so that comes out every Saturday, and we make loads of videos. So you can find me there, at Rick Kelsey on socials, and I work and write for the Times, and present on the BBC as well. So yeah, pop up in. You're probably too many places. You're probably bored of my face, mate. Can I just apologise? Yeah.
But I love it. Honestly,
hosting the vegetable awards near you.
Coming to a small town.
Yeah.
Presenting postcode lottery.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've loved this, Rick. Thank you so much. And definitely encourage people to go and check out the show. And we'll speak to you soon.
Sammy, keep doing what you're doing, because you're helping a lot of people, and I've really enjoyed coming on.
Thanks, mate.